Good morning, students. Welcome to the Checkpoint Online Sessions. I'm Mr. Charles. This is the second lesson of the fifth week. Unit 7, Education Matters. In this unit, you will first read satirical poems and drama extracts. Second, transform information to argument. Third, present a report on a survey. And fourth, learn to refute an argument. Let's start. Too many toys. A text on page 89. Please go to it and let's read together. Workaholic parents think they can compensate for the time they do not spend with their children by buying them more toys. But recent research suggests that this ploy is actually leading to children losing the ability to play properly. Younger children, in particular those aged 5 or under, can be overwhelmed by too much choice and end up playing less than children with fewer, more valued toys and games. In addition, a surfeit of toys can prevent the development of other skills. Parental time spent with the child, playing with them, reading, or even singing to them is developmentally far more superior, regardless of the parental income level. This is the view of a professor of educational psychology, following a study of 3,000 children from the ages 3 to 5. She said that when children own a large number of toys, they are distracted and they do not learn or play well. They move from one to the other and do not settle to anything. Western parents now spend $5 billion buying 423 million toys each year, according to the latest figures, amounting to an average of $500 per child. Research suggests that there are $8 billion worth of unused toys in homes in just one European country. But there are signs of change. Some parents have begun to encourage their children to play outside and to give them board games instead of guns and dolls. They even give them empty cardboard boxes. Many toys restrict children's imagination, whereas an empty box could become anything. A professor of early childhood education at an American university thinks that parents should restrict their children's access to toys. He said it is a myth that children with the most toys are happier and cleverer than those who only have a few favorites and whose parents do not rush out to buy the latest plaything. The view of the experts is that having many toys creates a feeling of being overwhelmed, and that the fallacy that more is better needs to be eradicated from the thinking of the professional classes in the West. Research has shown that having fewer toys leads to an increase in sharing with others and to a communal rather than isolated play, which can only be beneficial to child development. Difficult vocabulary. Workaholic is an adjective because of the IC at the end, and it means the person who works too much. Any word any noun that you jam an olic next to it or a suffix as holic, it becomes addicted, like alcoholic, addicted to alcohol, shopaholic, addicted to shopping. Compensate is a verb and it means to repay, to pay back. Ploy is a noun and it means plan. Overwhelmed is a verb and it means confused. Surfeit is a noun and it means abundance, plenty of. Distracted is a verb and it means bewildered, kind of confused. Fallacy is a noun, and it means conception. Eradicated is a verb, and it means eliminated. Communal is an adjective, and it means collective, group work, as opposed to isolated. Beneficial is an adjective, and it means advantageous. There are several statements made about the text, and we have to state whether they are true, false, or we are uncertain. This is not mentioned clearly in the text. The first statement is that children between 3 and 5 have more toys than other age groups. This is false. The second statement is that children from poorer backgrounds develop better than those from affluent ones. This is false. They all develop the same. A cardboard box is a better toy than a doll or a gun. That's true, because a box could be anything. Children brought up in Western homes are likely to have more toys. That's true. The more toys children have, the more likely they are willing to share them. It's the other way around. This is false. If we have to summarize the argument in the whole text in one line, we should practice this while we are studying more often to master the skill of summary. If we can summarize as little as possible into one line or two lines, one sentence or two sentences, this would be great practice for a bigger summary. If we have to summarize this argument, we would say that many children are given too many toys by their working parents, which has led to a restriction in the development of their social and learning skills. Your wording does not have to be identical to this, but it should revolve and cover all the points mentioned in the text as concisely and shortly as possible. Just Google it, pages 91 and 92. Let's read together. I'm in the middle of a fight. My mother and I can't agree on who was the actor who played the detective in the film we saw last week. Was it blank? Just Google it, my sister intervenes. Yesterday, I couldn't remember what singer blank looked like. Just Google it, my colleague told me. When I had lost the recipe for my favorite blank, my friend's answer was instant. Just Google it. These blanks should be filled by a certain part of speech word. It doesn't matter which word you choose as long as the part of speech of it suits this position. For example, for the first blank, the detective that played, or the actor that played the detective in a movie they saw last week, was it? After this, we need a name of an actor. Let's say Matthew McConaughey or Al Pacino. Any actor that you are familiar with. And then I couldn't remember what singer blank looked like. We need the name of a singer here as well. Let's say Curtis Jackson or any singer that you're familiar with. And then the recipe, losing the recipe for the favorite dish, salad, Middle Eastern food, anything that suits a noun or a compound noun for the adjective favorite. 2 words. It has become as simple as that to find the answer to most of life's questions. Hit Google and you'll know the answer to everything under the sun, and instantly. You couldn't find out, for example, whether there is blank, or why the blank, or even when blank. You don't need to go to a shrink anymore. The research engine can provide you with the sanest and best advice anyone has ever given. In fact, there's even a church of Google. that believes that Google is all-knowing and therefore divine. But the God to whom we address all questions has taken the fun out of a fight. There is no scope for speculation anymore. Google has ruined all my chances of being right on a bluff. Google has been around for a little more than a decade, but it has changed the way we remember forever. It has tamed my enthusiasm to memorize things, but it has given me access to facts about things I love. I don't think my father at the age of 29 could have rattled answers about who blank was, or what a blank is, or when to blank, one after the other. Human help used to be needed to tell us how to prune a bonsai, or to cook a blank, or to blank blank. The truth is, I am miserable and can't live without my search engine, either at work or at home. Google has helped me grow mentally, even though I'm much less fit physically, when I happily sit at a desk the whole day long, just Googling. Text analysis. Triple structures, or the rule of three. This literary device is found in paragraph 1 by the repetition of the sentence, just Google it, the imperative sentence. The use of Google here is in the means of a verb. So just Google it is like just do it. So repeating the sentence, just Google it 3 times, is a triple structure or rule of 3. And then sister told him, colleague told him, friend told him. Again, this is a triple structure. And the second paragraph, the whether, why, and when. Again, triple structure. And the third paragraph, you have who and what and when. The father incident that he wouldn't remember, or he was not able to know instantly who or what or when. Or how to, or to. Again, the structure or the triple structure of 3 verbs to fit in this position is a rule of 3. The contrast or the antithesis that exists in this text, examples of it, little more than a decade, but forever. Remember, antithesis is not 2 words after each other that mean the opposite. This would be oxymoron. But 2 words that follow each other with spaces between them through a phrase, word, a change of position, but they should not be immediately after each other. And they should mean the opposite. So decade or contrasting. Decade and forever. So limited amount of years and then unlimited amount of years. Antithesis. Another example, I tamed my enthusiasm to memorize things, but it has given me access. So Google has tamed the writer's enthusiasm to memorize things, but it has given him unlimited access to facts unfamiliar before. So to tame and to give access, these are plain opposites. Either at work or at home. These are not physical or, let's say, very obvious opposites. But when you are at home, supposedly in normal circumstances, not the ones we are experiencing now, where we are working from home. But the normal circumstances suggest that the home is a place of rest, and work, or the working environment, is a place of work. You cannot be resting or sleeping at work. Again, we say standard circumstances. So work and home are opposites, antithesis. Helped me grow mentally, even though I am such less fit physically. mentally and physically. Again, example of antithesis. Miserable, and then some words are stated, and then happily. Miserable and happy, or misery and happiness, are opposites, antithesis. What are the incidents of informal style or the conversational style used in the text? Well, the second paragraph starts with two words, just a phrase. No subject, no verb, just two words. This is informal style. Hit Google. The meaning or the full sentence here should have been press the button that leads to the Google website or to the Google search engine. But since now Google has become so familiar among people, the word hit Google makes sense. Still informal though, still conversational, but it made perfect sense. Everything under the sun. This is an idiom, an expression to mean everything that you want to know about, everything and anything. So basically, the origin of this idiom or expression is that the sun oversees all, oversees everything on earth. So everything you would want to know throughout history and geography is available through Google. It's not literal meaning that you may find everything under the physical existing star that is the sun. It's another meaning to mean all that you desire. Taking the fun out of a fight. Again, this is an idiom, informal to be used in a text, in argumentative text, conversational style, but still, as we said earlier, it in previous lessons, it gives weight to the argument that you're trying to make. It takes the fun out of a fight. This means that it's kind of obvious what it means. Whenever there's an incident, it takes anything fun out of it. There is the explicit idea the writer's trying to express is that there is fun in looking up information through books, through asking people, through asking your teacher. But Google has taken all this fun away by just you press it and you get the information. So Google has taken the fun out of a fight, conversational style. Right on bluff. This is also an idiom, and bluff is to mean it means that you are not saying the truth. You are trying to confuse your listener. So there's no more room for people to try to confuse their listeners because of Google. The writer says there's no more room for speculation. Everything is definite. Google has ruined all the chances to trying to call on people's bluffs. So Google is now calling on people's bluffs. Shrink. A shrink is an informal word to mean the occupation of a doctor, a psychoanalysis doctor that treats people with mental illnesses. The title, just Google it. If we want to analyze this title, it has a command in it, right? It says Google it to be used as a verb. So this is an imperative commanding style. And then it engages you through the use of the exclamation mark. It says just Google it to try to engage the reader in the idea being said. And since it tells you to Google to do something, so it's inviting you as accepting this thing. So this title states the topic about Google, and then the writer stands on it, what the writer believes, being Google being the solution to all questions. Whatever you need, whatever you're inquiring about, just Google it. So we gain two birds with one stone in this title. This title engages us and it tells us what the topic is about. Also, the writer's beliefs that this is a great thing. The opening sentence, I'm in the middle of a fight. This is a literary style called in medias res, a Latin origin, and it puts the reader in the middle of the situation without an introduction yet. You start almost in the middle of the topic. The writer puts you immediately in the fight. It doesn't, the text does not introduce you to what is Google, the beginning of Google, how people used to live before Google. No, the introduction, between parentheses, the introduction here is in the middle of the topic, as opposed to conventional storytelling that leads you the beginning first, then the middle, and then the end, logical sequence. Some stories also begin at the end of the timeline of the story, and then go back to the beginning, and then go normally to the end. This style is used, or you used to practice it for Checkpoint as a second language, where at the end of the writing task, you have a question that says, write an essay or write a paragraph that starts with this sentence. And then he opened the door, let's say, and saw the horrific scene in front of him. You have to start here at the end and then go back to all of his day or week that led him at the end to open the door and see something horrific there. There's a film director called Christopher Nolan. He also engages his directing through this medium of starting at the end and then going back to the beginning, leading you smoothly at the end. Let's say starting the film with a murder scene, and then he takes you back to how this murder happened. The closing phrase the writer uses, just Googling, it is almost identical to the opening or to the title. Just Google it and then just Googling. And this is used to round up the article. It's like a circle. Starts at a point and then he draws the circle and then closes at the same point for you to be enclosed, rounded up by the same idea that Google is the solution to everything. The points of for and against, the positive and negative points mentioned about Google in this text are the positive ones are that Google settles disputes. So any arguments that you have between you and your friend, family, colleague, that did this happen or did it not happen? Well, Google settles this argument. Google answers questions or gives access to facts. Google works quickly and simply, just pressing the words. It provides advice. It aids mental development. The negative sides is that it kills speculations. Takes the fun out of a fight, remember? It makes arguing less fun. It reduces motivation for remembering. I don't need to remember anything anymore. Since Google is available, it's not as if I had this piece of information from a guest we had once a year, or from a teacher that taught me once, or from a book that I used to have but not anymore. These circumstances force you to use your memory better to remember the piece of information. But now, since we all know that we have Google just a click away from us, it takes away all our motivation to remember pieces of information. It makes people less fit physically, since they don't go around to try and gain information. and it reduces face-to-face contact. It's just face to machine or face to device now. For that for today. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and keep up your good work.